I really hate when I see talent wasted. And there's a cowboy related thing that is a horrible example of talent wasted. And his name is Dan Orlovsky. Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco, home of the Dallas Cowboys. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky has, he's got it all. By the way, I don't know Dan. Dan, if you're watching this, why don't you, since you're an expert on the Cowboys, why don't you swing into the Stars sometime and we'll visit. Dan Orlovsky, by the way, has the opportunity to be an expert on the Cowboys and the NFL. Played in the NFL. I know you've been making fun of his, running out of the back of the end zone, but he played quarterback in the NFL. That's something. He's clearly, when you watch him on TV, clearly very bright, eloquent, funny, and he looks the part. But then he opens his mouth about the Cowboys. And then it turns into, I can't say the SH word, so we'll change it. Bits and giggles. It's bits and giggles. It's a goof. And that's a shame. I assume that when you try to come up in that business now, in this business now, and try to come up fast, that you do it the Skip Bayless way. You watch Skip Bayless making $7 million a year and go, you mean if I pretend I hate LeBron, I can make $7 million? Okay. Who else should I pretend I hate? Well, you can pretend you hate the Yankees. You can pretend to hate the Lakers. You can pretend to hate the Cowboys. You could pretend to hate Bill Belichick. That would work. You could pretend to hate Tom Brady. That's probably the big five right there. Orlovsky has clearly chosen the bit of hating the Cowboys. And I say hate, of disrespecting the Cowboys, of disrespecting Dak Prescott. Those would be the two lightning rod guys. If you go on ESPN and say, I dislike Jerry Jones, you don't get any traction. You're not in an exclusive club there. If you go on national TV and say, Dak Prescott sucks, you're going to get some attention. What Orlovsky has done here is go on national TV and say that not only the Cowboys not the best team in the NFC East, which is completely viable, we'll get to that in a minute. He's also saying that the Cowboys are no better than the third best team in the NFC East. So let's take this seriously for a minute before we get to the bits and giggles. Washington football team has earned the right to some respect. They won the NFC East title in 2020, fair and square, despite a 7-9 record. Along the way, one, Ron Rivera created a sound foundation there, something that they haven't had since, Joe Gibbs. Two, Joe Gibbs' first time around. Two, they provided the eventual Super Bowl champ Bucs a real playoff test before losing. Three, also along that path, they played the Cowboys twice and demolished them. And then four, this offseason, Washington deserves tremendous credit. We need a quarterback. We need a wide receiver. Oh, we lost a corner. We need to go get that too. Boom, boom, boom. Fitzpatrick, Curtis Samuel, and William Jackson. Oh, and defensively, as good as we are, we need a linebacker. Fine. Jamin Davis. Boom. Washington's done all the right things in building this thing. Add it all up, and Orlovsky says, not only is Washington better than Dallas, it's fine, but that the Giants are better than the Cowboys, that the Cowboys are the third best team in the division. Now, I'm not here to play Homer Fish. Washington winning the division is a completely legitimate prediction. The Giants being better than Dallas, you got to look pretty hard to find somebody that thinks that. And even with Dan Orlovsky, I think we've looked really hard and found somebody who probably doesn't really think that. Cowboys, by most analysts' opinions, are viewed as a team that can return to the top of the NFC East, a team that is not going to be 6-10 again. The logic being simple, 2020 was a lost year due to Dak Prescott's season-ending ankle injury. That's a legitimate reason to think that 6-10 was somewhat fluky. It's a logical view. You don't have to hold it, but it's not a homerific view, it's a logical view. Just like believing in the WFT is a logical view. The question here is it logical to think that it's logic that drives Dan Orlovsky? So he's on the TV show Get Up, and he's doing this running bit, featuring Cowboys bashing. The hint to this, by the way, the hint to Washington fans, the hint to Cowboy fans, that it's a bit, isn't about Washington being judged as being superior to Dallas. It's about Orlovsky's then reaches about the Giants and then the details that he gets all wrong. And I'll give you the other hint here in a minute. The Giants were 6-10 last year. Now, they did lose Saquon Barkley. The Giants could be better. I will say in defense of anybody who does this on a national level, part of the challenge is to be an expert on 32 teams. I'm not. Cowboys, Mavericks, NFC East, Texas football, I can't be an expert on 32 of them. And neither can Dan. Quote from Dan, Cowboys' defensive line last year gave up 3.5 yards per carry before touching the person running the ball, and they didn't do anything to address that defensive line substantially in the draft. Uh-oh. Oh, Dan. Actually, of course, the Cowboys used their top pick on linebacker Micah Parsons. That should impact greatly what happens with the defensive line. And they drafted, as you know, not one, not two, but 3 defensive linemen in the draft. They absolutely addressed the defensive line in the draft. They drafted 3 of them. They also used free agency to add 3 more, Basham and Urban and Watkins. Now, I don't know what gigantic difference any of those 6 guys will make. 7 if you count Micah and how he'll influence defensive line play. I don't know that. But you can't pretend you're an expert on the Cowboys defense and not know those things. Hardly qualifies as a position group not being addressed. Orlovsky also stated that Washington and New York are better coached. I don't know how you could say that about Joe Judge. And I'm no Mike McCarthy apologist here, as you know. But at this point, you can't say that Joe Judge is a better coach than Mike McCarthy. You just can't. There's just no evidence of that. He also said he believes that if Fitzpatrick or Daniel Jones play well, their teams will be better than Dallas, even if Dak plays well, because if Dak plays good football, it's still not a playoff team. But it has been. And Daniel Jones's teams haven't been. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick has ever quarterbacked a team to the playoffs. Ever. So the only guy of those 3 that actually has playoff leadership credentials is the one that he's saying doesn't. You just can't find very many NFL analysts who think that a Dak-led Cowboys team is a clear non-contender. You cannot find too many analysts prepared to praise one-year Giants Joe Judge. One time head coach for being superior to anybody. I don't know that you can argue, and again, I'm not bashing Joe Judge. I'm not sure you can argue that he's a superior NFL coach to anybody. And then when you watch the Orlovsky video, and we have this for you at cowboyssi.com. Go get it, by the way, and thank you for subscribing. Orlovsky was also on with Sean and RJ on 105.3 The Fan saying some of the same silly stuff. Watch the video. And you cannot find too many NFL analysts who, when they merely begin mentioning the words, the Dallas Cowboys, draw giggles from the other ESPN panelists. The other guys are giggling as soon as he says Cowboys because they know that a bit is about to be delivered. Kind of like on Saturday Night Live when they break character and they start laughing at the joke, and they're supposed to be serious, but because they're in on the joke. They know it's a joke. They know the joke's coming. And they can't keep a straight face. There are not many reasons to put New York on a plane with Washington. There are plenty of reasons to pick Washington over Dallas, but the biggest reason that ESPN picks Washington and New York over Dallas here is to draw outrage from you, from Cowboy fans, silly enough to take Orlovsky's silliness seriously, and to draw giggles from fans who are smart enough to not take seriously Dan Orlovsky. Fish in Frisco.